Change News.
This is Voice of Change Radio News. A good day. I'm Amanda Kumalo. A quick look at stories making the headlines. First Lady, female artist widows hold historic indaba. In business news, gold mobilization drive targets 50 tons. In regional and international news, Bola Tinubu addresses supporters after being declared winner. In sports, Mabvuku Sports Complex set for renovations. The news in detail. First Lady Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa had a unique interface with spouses of both living and deceased artists, female artists, where she emphasized the need for unity, hard work and dedication as she forges ahead with her initiatives to empower women. Dr. Mnangagwa said time spent productively would always yield life-changing benefits. The First Lady, who has a passion for the empowerment of women, held heart-to-heart discussions with her guests and openly told them that issues concerning women were close to her heart. The meeting sought to create relationships among women as she befriended them and was a first of its kind since independence in 1980, when no First Lady had ever gathered spouses and widows of musicians as well as female artists to incline a sympathetic ear to the challenges they face on a daily basis. The United States of America has openly declared that it will interfere in this year's harmonized elections in Zimbabwe to ensure that they are free and fair, but in reality to engineer an outcome of their preference. This comes as the Western world, which includes the US, is reportedly yanking an overwhelming $37 million to sponsor the opposition and non-governmental organizations in a fresh plot to undermine the will of the people of Zimbabwe. Meanwhile, ZANU-PF Secretary for Information and Publicity, Comrade Christopher Muchangwa, has said despite being under vicious attacks from its detractors owing to huge achievements scored by the Second Republic in infrastructure development, economic and political reforms, Zimbabwe will forge ahead notwithstanding the illegal sanctions. He was speaking at the post-367th session at the Politburo media briefing at the ZANU-PF headquarters in Harare yesterday. The country's economy has been on a rebound, spurred by massive infrastructure development projects across the country. Moving on to business news, government efforts to increase gold deliveries through official channels are gathering momentum, and yesterday, 17 teams were deployed across the 8 mining provinces to carry out a week-long monitoring and surveillance blitz. The exercise began yesterday and will end on 8 March. The country produced 35 tons of the yellow metal last year and is targeting to produce at least 40 tons, although Mines and Mining Development Minister Winston Chitando said the sector could produce up to 50 tons. In regional and international news, Nigerian Tinubu on Wednesday spoke to supporters after officials declared him the winner of Saturday's election in Africa's most populous nation. In his speech at his party's headquarters in Abuja, Tinubu said, "The ship is not sinking or wither. We anchor well under President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu." Tinubu allegedly received 37% of the vote, or nearly 8.8 million, while main opposition candidate Abubakar won 29% with almost 7 million. Third place finisher Obi took 25% with about 6.1 million, according to the results announced on live television by the Independent National Electoral Commission. On Tuesday, the two leading opposition parties had demanded a revote, saying that it had been compromised by vote rigging and widespread violence. And finally, in sports, Deputy Minister of Youth, Sport, Arts and Recreation Tino Machakaire has described the scheduled facelift of the multi-purpose Mabvuku Sports Complex as a masterstroke not only for sport growth but in the country's sustained fight against drug abuse and social vice in communities. Building materials including bricks and cement worth thousands of United States dollars have since been procured toward the redevelopment of the rundown center that is widely known as Number 1 Grounds. Mabvuku Tafara Councillor Scott Sakupkanya is spearheading the works through his Scott Foundation. That brings us to the end of this bulletin.
Voice of Change News.